Under the full moon, they emerge, unstoppable, savage, and bloodthirsty. Few creatures inspire more fear, and with good reason. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pantheon Mythology, and today we're asking, why are werewolves so terrifying? If you too want to be unstoppable, savage, and maybe just a little bloodthirsty, check out Pantheon Apparel, our clothing brand inspired by myths from around the world. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot. Link in the description. Right, here we go! Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are werewolves so terrifying? You mean the crazed beast that won't hesitate to tear you apart limb from limb? Isn't it obvious? Well, yeah. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. The finer details, you know? To understand why werewolves are so terrifying, we need to look at where the legend began. The idea of humans transforming into wolves is ancient, appearing in myths across multiple cultures. One of the earliest recorded accounts comes from ancient Greece, with the story of Lycaon, the infamous king of Arcadia. As the myth goes, Lycaon sought to test Zeus's omniscience by serving him a meal of human flesh. Enraged by this act of sacrilege, Zeus cursed him, transforming him into a wolf. This tale not only tied werewolves to divine punishment, but also reinforced an early link between werewolves and cannibalism, a connection that resurfaces in folklore across different cultures. The dread of men turning into wolves wasn't limited to Greece. In Norse mythology, the saga of Ulfhethnar tells of warriors who wore wolf pelts and were believed to take on the ferocity of the beasts themselves. Unlike the berserkers, who were associated with bears, the Ulfhethnar were feared for their savage, almost supernatural abilities in battle. While they didn't physically transform, their legend contributed to the unease of humans losing control and succumbing to their animalistic nature. Moving into medieval Europe, werewolf lore took on an even more sinister edge. During this time, transformation into a wolf was often linked to witchcraft, curses, and demonic pacts. In France, belief in loup-garou became widespread. These were the men who either willingly became wolves through dark rituals or were cursed to do so, often condemned for their supposed crimes. Some saw werewolves as witches in disguise, further fueling the religious paranoia of the era. Adding to the terror was the connection between werewolves and cannibalism. In Germany, legends of the Stub, a spectral wolf that preyed on humans, circulated among real-life accusations of werewolfery. Some individuals, such as Peter Stump, a 16th-century German farmer, and Gilles Gagnier, a French recluse from the same period, were put on trial and executed after being accused of transforming into wolves and committing gruesome murders. While their cases were likely fueled by hysteria and superstition, they demonstrate how deeply ingrained the fear of werewolves was in medieval society. Across the world, different cultures reinforced this idea of the werewolf as a dreaded figure, one that represented the ultimate loss of control. Whether as a punishment from the gods, a cursed existence, or a deliberate embrace of the beast within, werewolves embodied the most primal terrors of humanity. They aren't just another monster lurking in the dark. What sets them apart is the loss of control, the brutality of their attacks, and the terrifying fact that anyone could become one. Werewolves don't always choose their fate. In some versions of the myth, they gain their power through dark rituals, but the most terrifying cases involve those who have no choice at all. The full moon forces the change, stripping away their humanity and unleashing pure animalistic rage. The transformation itself is agonizing, with bones snapping, muscles stretching, and skin splitting apart as the wolf form takes hold. Others describe it as instantaneous, a shift so sudden that by the time the person realizes what's happening, it's already too late. The real horror isn't just becoming a monster. It's that once the transformation starts, nothing can stop it. Many supernatural creatures retain their minds after transformation. Vampires plot and manipulate. Demons revel in chaos. But werewolves, they lose everything. With no memory of their past life, they have no hesitation, no remorse, and no reason to stop. The mind is overtaken by primal hunger and animalistic rage, erasing reason, morality, and memory. Some versions suggest that a small part of the person remains, trapped inside, forced to watch helplessly as they slaughter the people they love. Anyone could be a werewolf and not know it. A person could live their life normally, unaware that under the full moon they become the very monster they fear. Even those who do know they are trapped, forced to chain themselves up, flee to the wilderness, or beg others to kill them before they hurt someone. Unlike other beasties, werewolves don't just inspire fear in others, they fear themselves. Werewolves don't kill like other creatures. Vampires seduce their victims. Ghosts haunt them. Demons manipulate the corrupt. Werewolves rip, tear, and devour. Their attacks aren't just lethal, they're horrific. Victims are left mangled, torn apart, often unrecognizable. While most creatures hunt for survival, werewolves kill for the sake of killing, their hunger insatiable. A transformed werewolf doesn't hesitate, and doesn't stop until nothing is left. They are nearly unstoppable. Wounds heal faster than any normal creature, shrugging off injuries that would kill a man. While swords, fire, and magic stop other monsters, werewolves require specific weapons, usually silver, to be put down for good. Without one, you're already dead. The most horrifying part of all, werewolves don't just kill, they spread. One bite is enough to seal your fate. Unlike other creatures that simply take lives, werewolves, much like vampires, have the ability to create more monsters. A single attack means you are next. The transformation starts slowly, with fever and hallucinations creeping in until the next full moon, when the victim becomes the very thing that attacked them. Some accounts say the change is immediate, with fresh werewolves turning on their own families before the night is over. It's not just that werewolves are terrifying to face, it's that even if you survive, you might not be human anymore. The terror of werewolves wasn't confined to legend. At various points in history, entire communities believed these creatures walked among them, leading to accusations, mass hysteria, and brutal executions. Much like the infamous witch trials, werewolf trials became a real and terrifying phenomenon across Europe, where those accused of lycanthropy faced horrifying fates. During the 16th and 17th centuries, werewolf trials gripped France, Germany, and Switzerland, driven by a combination of religious fear, social unrest, and unexplained violence. In many cases, accusations were leveled against outcasts, beggars, or those with physical deformities, as well as individuals suffering from mental illness. Superstitions and paranoia turned suspicion into death sentences, with many subjected to torture until they confessed to crimes they could not possibly have committed. One of the most infamous cases was Peter Stump, who we met earlier, a German farmer executed in 1589 after being accused of transforming into a werewolf and committing a series of gruesome murders. He reportedly confessed under torture to cannibalizing children, livestock, and even his own son. His trial was a public spectacle, with his body broken on the wheel, his limbs torn apart, and his remains burned to ensure he could never rise again. We also previously encountered Guy Escanier, a French hermit convicted in 1573. Known as the Werewolf of Dole, he was accused of attacking children and tearing them apart with his teeth. Witnesses claimed he could change into a wolf at will, and his execution by burning was meant to rid the land of this supposed dark influence. These trials reveal the depth of belief in werewolves, proving that the fear was far more than just myth. It was a tangible force that could cost lives. While superstition fueled these fears, real-world illnesses and disorders may have contributed to the myth. Rabies, a viral disease that spreads through animal bites, could explain many werewolf-like behaviors. infected individuals experience violent fits, hallucinations, frothing at the mouth, and extreme sensitivity to light and water. Given that wolves were primary carriers of rabies in medieval Europe, it's easy to see how a rabid animal attack could be mistaken for a werewolf attack, especially if the infected person later showed signs of the disease. Another possible explanation is clinical lycanthropy, a rare psychological disorder where individuals believe they are transforming into wolves or other animals. Some patients exhibit animal-like behavior, growling, howling, and even attempting to bite others. In a time when little was understood about mental illnesses, such cases would have seemed like absolute proof of werewolves existing among the population. Combined with cases of severe psychosis, where individuals might commit brutal, animalistic murders, these disorders could easily have reinforced the legend. Beyond disease and paranoia, the werewolf legend speaks to a much deeper fear: the beast within us all. Since ancient times, humanity has wrestled with the idea that beneath our civilized exterior, there is something wild, primal, and uncontrollable. The werewolf embodies this fear, representing the fragile boundary between rationality and raw instinct. In medieval societies, where order and obedience were crucial, the idea that an ordinary person could suddenly become a mindless, bloodthirsty predator was terrifying. This fear wasn't just about wolves, it was about the fear of losing control over oneself, of becoming a monster that even loved ones could no longer recognize. For all their strength, savagery, and resilience, werewolves are not entirely invincible. Across different myths, various methods have been proposed to ward off or kill these beasts. But while some offer a glimmer of hope, others suggest that once a werewolf is turned, its fate, and the fate of those it hunts, is already sealed. Silver is the most well-known weakness. Weapons made of pure silver are the only means of killing a werewolf permanently. Some claim that this stems from silver's purity, capable of counteracting the curse, while others believe it was simply a way to make the beasts vulnerable. A silver bullet to the heart ends a werewolf's rampage instantly, while a silver blade inflicts wounds that do not heal. However, earlier stories suggest that killing a werewolf required complete destruction, such as burning the body or decapitation. In parts of Eastern Europe, protective herbs such as wolfsbane were used to keep werewolves at bay, either by carrying them or placing them around homes. Forcing a werewolf to consume wolfsbane was thought to either cure them or act as a lethal poison. Then there are the more brutal methods. To truly destroy a werewolf, its heart must be removed and burned, ensuring it can never regenerate. Killing the person in human form before the next full moon is said to be the only way to stop the transformation from ever happening again. But in many versions of the legend, there is no cure, no salvation, and no escape. Once bitten, the victim's fate is sealed, and no weapon, no magic, no prayer can save them. The only true way to stop a werewolf is to kill them before they kill you. So then, why are werewolves so terrifying? They are uncontrollable and utterly savage. Unlike other creatures of legend, they cannot be reasoned with, bargained with, or easily destroyed. Once the transformation begins, humanity is gone, leaving only the unrelenting force of nature driven by pure instinct. They do not hunt for sport or vengeance. They do not seek to conquer or dominate. They exist to tear, to devour, to annihilate. Their power is not in their cunning or their cruelty, but in the sheer inevitability of their destruction. You never see it coming. The person beside you today could be the beast that rips you apart tomorrow. The werewolf legend endures because it is not just a story about the hunted, it's a story about becoming the hunter. So when the full moon rises, remember this. You may lock your doors. You may pray for safety. But when the beast awakens, unless you have some silver handy, there is only one truth. You run, or you die.